Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastav, and with me is Sara Mujtaba, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. India's outgoing President Ramnath Kovind addresses the nation on the eve of demitting office, exudes belief that country is getting equipped to make 21st century the century of India. Draupadi Murmu to take oath as the 15th President of India in Central Hall of Parliament on Monday. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh says it is government's priority to achieve self-reliance in defence sector. WHO declares monkeypox as global health emergency amid rising cases. Olympic champion Neeraj Chopra scripts history by becoming first Indian to win silver medal in men's javelin throw at World Athletics Championships in Oregon, US. And in cricket, second ODI of three-match series between India and West Indies underway at Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain. President Ramnath Kovind has exuded belief that the country is getting equipped to make the 21st century the century of India. In his farewell address to the nation on Sunday, Mr. Kovind assured that India's great future is secured with each of its citizens striving to make India better and better.
Here, education is the key. I believe the national education policy will go a long way in making it possible for young Indians to connect with their heritage and also find their feet in the 21st century. To let them flourish tomorrow, healthcare is essential. The pandemic has underlined the need to further improve the public healthcare infrastructure. I am glad that the government has accorded top priority to this task. Once education and healthcare are in place, economic reforms will let citizens find the best course for their lives.
The President said the nation will celebrate the 75th anniversary of independence in August and enter the Amrit Kal, the 25-year period leading to the centenary of independence.
We will enter the Amrit Kal, the 25-year period leading to the centenary of independence. These anniversaries are milestones on the journey of the Republic, a journey to discover its potential and to offer its best to the world.
Mr. Kovind emphasized that these anniversaries are milestones on the journey of the Republic and a journey to discover its potential and to offer its best to the world. The President said in modern times the glorious journey of the country commenced with the awakening of nationalist feelings during colonial rule and the launch of the freedom struggle. There were many uprisings across the country in the 19th century. He pointed out that the names of many of the heroes of the freedom struggle had been forgotten and contributions of some of them have come to be appreciated only in the recent times. Mr. Kovind said that when Mahatma Gandhi returned to India in 1915, the nationalist fervour was gaining momentum. He expressed belief that no other country has been as fortunate as India in having a galaxy of leaders with exceptional minds within a span of a few decades in the early 20th century. He mentioned Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, who helped people find their cultural roots again, and Baba Sahib Bhimrao Ambedkar, who advocated the cause of equality that was unheard of in most advanced countries. The President highlighted that from Tilak and Gokhale to Bhagat Singh and Netaji, from Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel and Shyama Prasad Mukherjee to Sarojini Naidu and Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay, great minds came together for a common cause. He said this has not happened anywhere else. He lauded Gandhiji for being the one whose transformative ideas influenced the outcome the most. Mr. Kovind said that the formal map for the democratic path of the nation was drafted by the Constituent Assembly. It included great minds from across the country, including 15 remarkable women such as Hansaben Mehta, Durgabai Deshmukh, Rajkumari Amrit Kaur and Sucheta Kriplani. The President said that the constitution they prepared has been country's guiding beacon and values enshrined in it have been part of the Indian ethos. Mr. Kovind mentioned that Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar had pointed out the distinction between two kinds of democracy in his concluding remarks in the Constituent Assembly before the Constitution was adopted. Dr. Ambedkar had said, people must not be content with mere political democracy. Mr. Kovind quoted Dr. Ambedkar saying political democracy cannot last unless social democracy lies at the base of it. It means a way of life which recognizes liberty, equality and fraternity as the principles of life. He said, it is thanks to the power of nation's vibrant democratic institutions that Ramnath Kovind from village Parong could become the president. The President said that he discharged his duties to the best of his abilities during the 5 years of his term. Mr. Kovind expressed gratitude to all the citizens and elected representatives, saying he has been inspired and energized by his interactions with citizens across the country. Mr. Kovind said he will cherish the occasions when he met brave Jawans of the armed forces, paramilitary forces and the police. Concluding his address, he asked everyone to take care of the environment, land, air and water for the sake of the children.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion. Message from the outgoing President's farewell address to the nation. In conversation are Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Ashwini Srivastav, journalist.
President Ramnath Kovind addressed the nation today on the eve of his last day in office. He was sworn in as the 14th President of India on July 25, 2017 for a 5-year term. Former Jharkhand Governor Draupadi Murmu will be sworn in as the country's next president on Monday. During his farewell address to the nation, President Kovind talked about his journey from a mud house he used to live in at his Parok village in Uttar Pradesh, Kanpur, to becoming the first citizen. Tandonji, how do you see President's tenure and what are some of the key takeaways from his farewell address to the nation that he gave today?
It was a very touching moment, an emotional moment for the outgoing president, and certainly it was a historic address to the nation when he departs office. But nevertheless, the outgoing president paid his glowing tributes not only to the father of the Indian Constitution, also the past presidents. He literally named all the past presidents from whom he had drawn inspiration, and he specifically mentioned his predecessor, Pranab Mukherjee. But one thing which I have noticed has been common in most of the addresses by President Ramnath Kovind during the last 5 years has been the connect which he has been making with Mahatma Gandhi and also Baba Saheb Ambedkar. In fact, the perfect balancing act which outgoing President Ramnath Kovind always made between the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi, the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi, as well as the teachings of Baba Saheb Ambedkar. But he also mentioned the present situation in the country as well as some of his common concerns. He has always mentioned about water conservation, environment and health care. All these things were there very much in outgoing President Ramnath Kovind's address to the nation. And he also mentioned that next month India will enter Amrit Kal, the 25 years period leading to centenary of independence. And he said that the nation has been celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. And in that context, he said again, as he has been talking, that we must be more careful to protect nature as well as all other living beings in our daily lives and routine choices. We must be more careful to protect nature. And but he began his address by referring to his own modest background, and then he mentioned the mud house from where he started his life. Then he also mentioned his visit to his native village where he met his old teachers. At the end of his speech, he also expressed heartfelt gratitude to all senior citizens and the public representatives and everybody. So it was a very emotional farewell address to the nation, but nevertheless, the issues which he addressed, like as I said, environment, our land, air, water, and all that for the sake of our children. That was a very important message. Another outlying message, of course, was Mother Nature, he said, is in deep agony. Climate crisis can endanger the very future of this planet. So, in that context, he said that he firmly believes that our country getting equipped to make 21st century the century of India. He went on to talk about the national education policy, which he said will go a long way. Young Indians to connect with their heritage. Like that, so many issues were addressed, but I think the most important message which he said was that the pandemic would underline the need to further improve the public healthcare infrastructure, and he said that he is glad that the government has accorded top priority to this task.
The President also mentioned concluding remarks of Dr. Babasaheb Bhimrao Ambedkar, as you mentioned that he has been throwing distinction. Now in his address, he pointed out the distinction between two kinds of democracy as mentioned by Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. He quoted Dr. Ambedkar, who had said we must make our political democracy a social democracy as well. Political democracy cannot last unless there lies at the base of its social democracy. What does social democracy mean? It means a way of life which recognizes liberty, equality, and fraternity as the principle of life. These principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity are not to be treated as separate items in a trinity. They form a union of trinity in the sense that to divorce one from the other is to defeat the very purpose of democracy. These were the words spoken by Dr. Ambedkar in his concluding remark in the Constituent Assembly before the Constitution was adopted. And Kovind, in his address today, said that this trinity of ideals is lofty, noble, and uplifting, and they must not be mistaken for abstraction. How do you find this assertion by him?
See, you very rightly said that the founding fathers of our constitution, they were all concerned about the democratic process. And that is exactly why we quoted Babasaheb Ambedkar's concluding remarks in the Constituent Assembly, that mere political democracy is not sufficient for a country like India, which has so much of diversity. There are so much of problems, healthcare. So we should have a social democracy. We should have economic democracy. And invariably, President Ramnath Kovind has been talking about this emancipation of the downtrodden, deprived sections of the society. He has been talking about women empowerment. All these issues were addressed again today. And the emphasis has been that a lot has already been done, but a lot more needs to be done. And he, in fact, was very particular in mentioning the economic situation and in the hardship still being faced by a large section of the deprived section of the society. So his emphasis was that the country needs to do more about that, for the welfare of these sections of the society. And that is why he invariably quotes Mahatma Gandhi and Babasaheb Ambedkar, because both of them were all the time talking about the welfare of the deprived sections of the society. And this has been the hallmark of President Kovind's address.
As you mentioned in your opening remark, that the President also talked about healthcare, a very important topic these days. He said the pandemic has underlined the need to further improve the public healthcare infrastructure. And I would quote him, he said, "I am glad that the government has accorded top priority to this task." How do you see this assertion of him at this point of time when the country is still grappling the coronavirus pandemic and its after effects?
Exactly. He also, in a way, commended the performance of the present government in tackling not only corona pandemic, but also paying, utmost attention to primary health care and the welfare of the women. So healthcare has been always a very important factor of his addresses, and this time also. But he said a lot has been done, but still a lot more needs to be done on the healthcare front as well.
The President also talked about protecting environment, a very important thing that he pitched towards the very end of his address. And again, I would like to quote two sentences from his speech. He said, "We must take care of our environment, our land, air and water for the sake of our children. In our daily lives and routine choices, we must be more careful to protect our trees, rivers, seas and mountains as well as all other living beings. As the first citizen, if I have to give one advice to my fellow citizens, it has to be this. I feel this is the key takeaway from his today's speech.
Certainly. And then he also, in a way, in his farewell address, said that he is demitting office fully satisfied that he discharges duties within the framework of the Constitution to the best of his abilities, and that is something with that satisfaction he is now demitting office today. It was a very emotional, but at the same time, a very statesman-like address to the nation in which he quoted founding fathers of the Constitution, all the previous presidents from where he drew inspiration, and also without forgetting, he mentioned that he always believed in the principle of non-violence of Mahatma Gandhi, and also the social cause for which Baba Sahib Ambedkar always fought, and in a way representing the deprived section of the society even while occupying the highest office in the country. And that was his concern, and he still, in a way, parting message was that the society, the nation and the government, they need to do much more to ensure welfare of the weaker section, deprived sections of the society.
The nation look forward to its next President Draupadi Murmu ji, who will take oath of office on Monday. Tandon ji, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Moving on. President-elect Draupadi Murmu will be sworn in as the 15th President of India in the Central Hall of Parliament on Monday morning. Outgoing President Ram Nath Kovind and President-elect Draupadi Murmu will arrive in the Central Hall in a ceremonial procession. President-elect Draupadi Murmu will take the oath of office in the presence of Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana, followed by a 21-gun salute. The President will then deliver an address. On the conclusion of the ceremony in the Central Hall, the President will leave for Rashtrapati Bhavan, where an Inter-Services Guard of Honour will be given to her in the forecourt and courtesies will be extended to the outgoing President Ram Nath Kovind. Chairman of Rajya Sabha M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, Union Ministers, Governors, Chief Ministers, Heads of Diplomatic Missions, Members of Parliament and principal civil and military officers of the Government of India will assemble in the Central Hall for the swearing-in ceremony. In view of the ceremony, Department of Personnel and Training has issued an order directing partial closure of certain central government offices in the vicinity of the Parliament House. These buildings would remain closed from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Monday. People belonging to the minority ethnic communities in Bangladesh celebrated the election of Draupadi Murmu as the next President of India. A gathering of people from Santhal community brought out a celebratory procession on Friday evening in front of the National Parliament Jyoti Sansad in Dhaka. They performed music and dance on the occasion to rejoice the election of the first woman from the tribal community of India as its President. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has said India has become a strong and confident nation which is well equipped to protect its people from anyone who tries to cast an evil eye. He said this during an event organised to commemorate Kargil Vijay Divas in Jammu on Sunday. Mr. Singh said the government's priority is to achieve Atmanirbharta in defence, as it is central to developing a robust security apparatus for the safety and security of the nation. He said the central government, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has taken a series of steps to develop a self-reliant defence ecosystem that provides indigenous state-of-the-art weapons, equipment to the armed forces to fight all kinds of future wars. The Defence Minister also announced the setting up of joint theatre commands of the tri-services to enhance coordination among the armed forces, keeping in view of joint operations as seen in Operation Vijay in Kargil. Mr. Singh paid tributes to the freedom fighters and the armed forces personnel who have laid down their lives since independence in the service of the nation. The Defence Minister spoke about the deeds of the brave soldiers who laid down their lives to protect the unity and integrity of India. and continue to be an inspiration to the people, especially the youth. He also paid respects to the Indian soldiers who displayed unmatched bravery during the Galwan Valley incident and ensured that the Indian tricolour continues to fly high. The government has amended the Flag Code of India to allow the tricolour to be displayed in the open and on individual houses or buildings through day and night. The provision earlier allowed the flag, when displayed in the open, to be flown from sunrise to sunset as far as possible. Now, a member of the public, a private organization or an educational institution is allowed to hoist the flag on all days and occasions, ceremonial or otherwise, consistent with dignity and honor of the national flag. The move comes ahead of the 75th anniversary of the Indian independence. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called upon people to hoist the tricolour or display it in their homes between the 13th and the 15th of August.
The World Health Organization (WHO) has declared the outbreak of monkeypox as a global health emergency. It came at the end of the second meeting of the WHO's Emergency Committee on the virus. The classification is the highest alert that the WHO can issue and follows a worldwide upsurge in cases. WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said more than 16,000 cases have now been reported from 75 countries. There have been 5 deaths so far as a result of the outbreak. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry of India said a 34-year-old male resident of Delhi was isolated at Lok Naik Hospital as a suspected case of monkeypox on Sunday. This patient with no travel history is the 4th case of monkeypox in the country. The Pakistan High Commission in Dhaka removed the distorted Bangladeshi flag from its official Facebook page after widespread condemnation and protest in Bangladesh. The Pakistan High Commission in Dhaka had put a merged flag of both the countries on its official Facebook page. Responding to the barrage of comments on its Facebook page, the Pakistan High Commission later closed the comment option on its page. The organizations of the Liberation War Fighters of Bangladesh, Bangladesh Mukti Jodha Mancha and the Ekatotre Ghatak Dalal Nirmul Committee and several other groups and individuals raised objections to it. They threatened to launch protests in the country for the distortion of the Bangladeshi flag. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Bangladesh asked the Pakistan High Commission to remove the distorted flag from its official Facebook page, following which it replaced the image on Sunday.
At least 22 people were killed in flash floods caused by heavy rains in Iran's southern province of Fars, a provincial official said on Saturday. The head of the province's crisis management department, Khalil Abdullahi, said one person was missing. He said 55 people had been rescued in the flood, which submerged 15 cars. Tokyo Olympic gold medalist Neeraj Chopra has created history by winning the silver medal in the men's javelin throw event at World Athletics Championships. We have a report.
In the prestigious competition held at Eugene in Oregon State of the United States, the champ grabbed the second position with his best throw of 88.13 meters Sunday morning.
Neeraj Chopra has spoken about how he would love to exceed 90 meters in the 2022 season. He's not done it yet in his career. The national record stands at 89 and 94. Can the Indian Olympic champion find anything else? Note that javelin just dips down, and that makes Anderson Peters of Grenada your defending men's javelin champion.
Grenadian javelin thrower Anderson Peters won the gold medal with a throw of 90.54 meters. Neeraj Chopra is the first ever Indian to win a silver medal at World Athletics Championships. He is the second Indian after former long jumper Anju Bobby George, who won a bronze medal in long jump in 2003 in Paris. Interacting with the media after winning the silver medal, Neeraj Chopra said that he is satisfied with the result, adding that he is happy to win a medal for the country.
मेरे लिए आज थोड़ा सा कंडीशन थी जो थोड़ी डिफरेंट थी और डिफिकल्ट थी, पर जो वो थ्रो थी अच्छा लगा था, मुझे अच्छा फील हुआ था, तो मुझे लग रहा था कि हाँ और अच्छी थ्रो है, पर सिल्वर मेडल की थ्रो थी और सेटिस्फाई है जो भी रिजल्ट है उससे. काफी टाइम बाद अपने इंडिया का मेडल आया है, तो इतनी चीज खुशी है वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप में.
Neeraj said that he'll try to do better at the World Championships next year. President Ramnath Kovind, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur have congratulated Neeraj Chopra on his feat. Reshma Tiwari for World News, AIR.
In cricket, West Indies were 303 for 6 in 49.1 overs against India in the second ODI of the 3-match series at Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain when reports last came in. Earlier, the hosts won the toss and elected to bat. India won a close game on Friday to take a 1-0 lead in the 3-match ODI series. A 215-member Indian athlete contingent across 16 disciplines is all set to participate in the Commonwealth Games beginning on 28th July in Birmingham. The Sports Authority of India has started a new initiative to cheer for Team India participating in the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham with the campaign Create for India. Participants can submit their creative entries by 26 July 2022 using hashtags Create for India and Cheer for India. The Commonwealth Games are starting from the 28th of this month and will continue till 8th of August. The Sports Scan program of All India Radio News has started Commonwealth Games Quiz with AIR News in its daily program Sports Scan to Cheer Team India. Rishi Chakrabarti of Kharagpur, West Bengal has become the quiz winner by giving the first correct answer to our Saturday's question. Rishi expressed his gratitude to AIR News for winning the quiz and wished the Indian players participating in the Commonwealth Games for medals.
And now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. First, we take a look at the press reports on China. The Tibetan Review writes that China has reacted with anger at the U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi's plan to include Taiwan in her August 2022 tour of Asia, which will also take her delegation to Indonesia, Japan, Malaysia and Singapore. The Economic Times reports that China has been stepping up military activity around Taiwan, seeking to pressure the democratically elected government there to accept Chinese sovereignty. The Tibetan Review reports that China is now campaigning to get the UN to altogether bury a highly anticipated report on human rights violations in Xinjiang.
Now let's take a look at the press reports on Nepal. The Kathmandu Post report says that the House of Representatives on Friday endorsed a bill to amend the Citizenship Act 2006 through a majority vote amid reservations from the main opposition CPN-UML. According to MyRepublica, Kathmandu is set to host SAF Women's Championship 2022 at Dashrath Stadium. The regional football championship will begin from September 6, in which 7 SAARC nations will fight for the title.
Now let's have a look at the press report from Pakistan. According to Radio Pakistan, Interior Minister Rana Sanaullah Khan says action will be taken against those who are taking law in their hands in the name of protest.
And now news from Balochistan. ANI report says that a prominent Baloch rights activist and Professor Naila Qadri Baloch on Saturday urged India to support Balochistan to contain Pakistan and eliminate Pakistani terrorism from South Asia. The Balochistan Bar Council has condemned the lathi charge at the protesters who were peacefully protesting over the issue of enforced disappearances and the rise in fake encounters of missing Baloch persons in Quetta. This rebuke comes in the backdrop of fake encounters in the Ziyarat district of northern Balochistan.
And now let's take a look at the press reports from Bangladesh. Bangladesh Inspector General of Police Benazir Ahmed has said there is still threat of militancy as it exists globally, reports the Daily Star. Russia is pursuing the Bangladesh Bank to encourage local banks to join SPFS, a Russian equivalent of the SWIFT financial transfer system developed by the Russian Central Bank, reports the Business Standard. And now a quick look at the headlines once again. India's outgoing President Ramnath Kovind addresses the nation on the eve of demitting office, exudes belief that country is getting equipped to make 21st century the century of India. Draupadi Murmu to take oath as 15th President of India in Central Hall of Parliament on Monday. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh says it is government's priority to achieve self-reliance in defence sector. WHO declares monkeypox as global health emergency amid rising cases. Olympic champion Neeraj Chopra scripts history by becoming first Indian to win silver medal in men's javelin throw at World Athletics Championships in Oregon, US. And in cricket, second ODI 3-match test series. ODI 3-match series between India and West Indies underway at Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain. And now before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favourite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Georgia. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.